Steve Tillinger, Director of WMK in Melbourne Studio, and I'm here to present on behalf of our studio the Latrobe Valley Gov Hub project that we had the privilege of designing both the architecture and interiors via the state government. Obviously there's the Bendigo Gov Hub, the Ballarat Gov Hub, and the Latrobe Gov Hub. It's the youngest of the three cousins in terms of its project value and its sort of location. We delivered this with Castle Rock Property Group via Regional Development Victoria as part of gentrifying and emerging Morwell. Morwell, for those that have been there, is quite a depressing place, or was at the time. Not in a condescending way, but I guess it's just in terms of its industry. Being born and raised in regional Victoria myself, you understand the economies and the socio-economic climate of industries such as forwarding, Geelong, etc. The economies are built on these industries, and the Hazelwood power station shut down in 2017. Obviously, the economy there suffered greatly. Part of gentrifying the city was about relocating 3 government departments there. The site was also particularly chosen because we highlight the Morwell train station, not necessarily in terms of its public transport amenity, but the train line essentially cuts the city in two. To the south, you've got council offices, police stations, and civic. To the north, you have sort of smaller retail strips along Church Street, some allied community health facilities. I realise I've got a pointer, but I can't keep still.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and the site itself located there to obviously accommodate the 3,800 square metres of office for these tenants, but also providing job opportunities for locals. And I guess these numbers that we quote here are actually retrospectively now assessed in terms of 80% of the local services and trades were provided by those that live in the immediate economy, and 75% of materials were sourced locally as well, in terms of our idea of how we could actually help this ecosystem. From a design narrative perspective, in terms of the architectural expression, we really wanted to draw inspiration from what was around us, and you could see the Hazelwood driving around the city. You could see remnants. There's relics of these big bucket wheels, and I guess for us, in terms of the architectural form, being an architect that came in after an original architect was parted ways with, the OVGA sort of made that determination. We thought, well, we can see why, because this could have belonged in Essendon Fields. It was just a glass box, and we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to obviously diminish the architectural quality or edifice or statement that this building could actually be something of civic pride that could reference the history, celebrate the present, but also be something that's aspirational for the future through architecture. And the bucket wheel was a really interesting concept, and we thought about the idea of the bucket wheel turned on its side, how these sort of teeth could actually form part of the architectural fenestration of the facade, how we could actually break down the form, express the ground floor plane to enhance the public realm, obviously taper the elevation so the monotony of a linear facade to actually taper and create a crescendo that sort of gives you subtle cues of an arrival. And then think about the 5th elevation. That's what I call the 5th elevation, which is the roofscape, so that this actually presents as an architectural form from longer range views and how that starts to work. Now, I've timed myself repeatedly in rehearsals, and I tell you what, I went through it this morning and it was 4.5 minutes when I didn't get past the first 3 slides, so I hope I'm moving well.
So keep going.
Yes. This is the finished sort of article. Now, the idea was about repetition, systemising, because we wanted to offset on-site construction time. All of these modules were prefabricated with light gauge steel off-site, delivered, transported to site, minimising wastage, drawing on cues from the surrounding context in terms of the red brick. But you can sort of see that the sawtooth isn't just a mimic or a takeoff of the bucket wheel, but a expression or an abstract expression of how that could actually present itself. The public realm, creating the negative space and the extension from the pedestrian path to sort of a negative space leading you to your arrival. We work closely with Kirsten from Aspect in terms of how we generated this space. And I guess this gives you a subtle hint for the underside of the sophites, of how it gives you a subtle gesture of, okay, I'm reaching this point, and then I sort of work my way in. And then from an elevation perspective, we think it sort of sits proudly in the streetscape, has a civic quality, but also providing an opportunity for the community to engage and be proud. Central atrium is the feature. We've exploded, so all rationale about consolidating, concentrating cores, the whole rationale was exploded because we wanted the central atrium to be something that connected the public and connected private and public sector. The whole ground floor plane has incubator pods, meeting spaces that are available to the public. We've had Indigenous artists involved in commissioning pieces, cafes, office retail. This community hub space has partition walls. This will now be, this is the designated now space for emergency services in emergency events. And also how we actually then design future spaces so the building could actually be connected and animated around the perimeter. Some of the internal cues, because I guess it was designed from the inside out as well, in terms of how these motifs sort of start to appear and reveal themselves in terms of a public arrival space. So it's almost like a gallery. It's like breaking down what a typical government building is. You walk into a government building in the CBD and you feel like you've got to stand in the scanner. We're trying to break down the perceptions of what public and private. This is obviously the communal space in terms of its flexibility. This is obviously in workshop mode. And then the typical floor plate. Looking again at the central stair, amenities. And I guess, I wouldn't say ahead of its time, given that outdoor spaces are now all part of refurb and repositioning post-COVID. We have to the north outdoor breakout zones that were designed before COVID even came in, because we wanted to challenge the ideas of indoor-outdoor environment. And then the connectivity internally, you know, you arrive at the ground floor, but you can see someone working upstairs. You're on level 2, and you can see someone down at the ground floor. So it's about creating these vertical connections, framing views, and then also the colour palette. We're unashamed in terms of the architectural expression. This is a working class building, referencing the history of place, but celebrating into the modern sort of technology. And I guess it sort of reaches the culmination of the atrium, which the sawtooth expression, it's not just the sawtooth expression, the roof form, and then we put in a plaster ceiling. The actual sawtooth profile reveals itself on the inside as well, and you start to actually get an appreciation and identify what that does on the outside and how that sort of enhances and uplifts you. And I think, you know, that's fine. Sitting here, it's the only place I've sat in that I've worked on. It could be an issue of mine, where I actually feel genuinely moved. Outdoor spaces and